time frame for me doesn't fit for a pulmonary embolism. This is really too soon after the surgery. And typically, pulmonary embolism occurs anywhere from days to weeks following a procedure like this. However, given his advanced cancer, it's possible that he did develop a deep vein thrombosis even before the surgery, and he could have had a pulmonary embolism. It's impossible to rule it out.
In a curious twist, the man who had developed Steve's alternative cancer therapy program, Dr. Kelly, had a rather different story. He insisted that Steve McQueen's death was a result of malicious poisoning.
Dr. Kelly said that a government agent had come in and put a blood coagulating substance in his IV.
Kelly's strongly put theory is that as a result of that, he had formed a blood clot in or around his heart and had had a heart attack. The obvious question is, why would anyone have done that? And Kelly's answer to that was that had Steve survived to testify to his recovery, that would have been such an insult to the mainstream American medical industry that had written him off, that he could not be allowed to return from that clinic.
That is consistent with Kelly's level of paranoia, that he would make up a story like that.
Does that mean that your treatment is a failure?
Well, that's what the establishment, that's what the medical community would like to say, but that's not true.
But Dr. Hunter is unconvinced by the idea of foul play.
The degree of the invasive procedure and the amount of tumor that the surgeon removed, it would be likely that Steve developed a coagulopathy. And that's where someone has an inability to clot, which results in internal bleeding.
He had been cured.
Kelly was adamant that McQueen was on the road to recovery, and that essentially what they were doing was a form of cosmetic surgery. They were physically removing the lump that had grown on McQueen's stomach, and that it was no more than really pulling out something that was already dead.
Supports Dr. Kelly's claim that Steve McQueen's tumors were dead.
Dr. McKee also didn't believe they were dead, but he hoped they were shrinking.
I have here the actual x-rays that were taken of Steve, reportedly showing a decrease in the amount of tumor in a very short period of time. This was the initial x-ray, and this was the follow-up. The second x-ray is more overexposed than the first, so it appears as if the tumor is shrinking, but in fact there is less detail in the image. Even though the alternative therapy was getting proper nutrition to help fight his cancer, I don't believe his cancer was responding really in any way to his therapy.